Hi everyone, the topic of today's video will be disbanded groups. Since I got into K-pop back in 2017, I've seen my fair share of groups disbanding every year. It's always a very sad thing, even if you didn't personally stan the group. But there are some disbandments that I feel like were for the better, while others were much more tragic and make me wish the group had stayed together. So let's see which groups I would or would not bring back from disbandment if I could. The first group I would not bring back from disbandment is DIA. I never really stan them, but I did enjoy them as a group. They were a stacked lineup full of talent, having some pretty impressive vocalists and also having one of my favorite female rappers, their leader WOULDN. It of course saddened me when I heard of their disbandment, but I ultimately think it was for the better and all the girls wanted it. DIA's story has always been messy. First and foremost, their company completely neglected them and mismanaged them from the start. It was always clear the group never had a specific direction in terms of sound and concept. It was as if the company changed concept each comeback, desperately trying to find something that would blow up and catch the general public's attention. The girls always got the bare minimum in terms of budget too. It always felt as if the company really didn't care about them at all. The only valuable member in the company's eyes was Jung Chaeyeon, former IOI member. It's worth mentioning that Chaeyeon was always overworked and the company treated her like some kind of cash cow since she was pretty much the only reason the group was known. So she was overworked while the other members were heavily mispromoted, resulting in a very unbalanced and difficult situation to navigate. I'm not gonna get into their situation too much, but to sum it up, this disbandment felt more like a blessing than a curse. Speaking of post-IOI groups, a group I would wanna bring back is Pristin. The main reason I wanna bring them back is because their disbandment literally makes no sense. The news came out of the blue and there doesn't seem to be a plausible reason for it. Pristin weren't necessarily the biggest group out there, but they were pretty popular, even winning Rookie of the Year in 2017. Nothing could indicate they were struggling or not doing well. I know there's some speculation about internal problems between the members and the company, but nothing is confirmed, and it's frustrating that Pledis never released a statement to clarify the situation. Pristin fans deserve closure and they deserve to know what happened, but besides that, they were full of potential, having some of the best vocalists among rookies at the time, also having members involved in songwriting and having two ex-IOI members whose popularity really helped boosting the group even more. All I can say is that Pristin is surely one of K-pop's biggest losses, hands down. CLC's disbandment also made me pretty mad, but even so, I would not choose to bring them back even if I had the chance, and this is because if they had stayed together they would have just kept being neglected by Cube. Nothing would have changed and they'd still be trapped in the company and getting the bare minimum. CLC was definitely one of the most talented third-gen girl groups, so of course I'd like to see them working together again, but not like this, not under Cube. I just really hope the members will thrive more in their own separate careers. I know they had so much potential as a group, but the company never really brought that potential out. So if they were still together they would just be stuck in a bad situation anyway. That's why it's better for them to stay away from the company and start fresh. X1's disbandment was tragic to say the least, and even if I never stan them I would not hesitate to bring them back together given the chance. They were such a young group who had literally just debuted. The potential they had was actually insane. The lineup was stacked with crazy talented guys that were working together super well since the beginning. Flash is one of the best boy group debuts in K-pop, and it's still one of the boy group songs that did the best in terms of streaming and charting. Everybody loved X1 and I'm sure they'd be the biggest fourth-gen boy group if they were still around. There's honestly nothing I wouldn't do to bring them back from disbandment, and this comes from someone who never even stan them. What angers me the most is that they had literally one of the most tragic disbandments in K-pop and none of it was their fault. They had to pay for someone else's mistakes and their dreams were mercilessly crushed just so little after debut. Just to make this situation even more sad, none of the members managed to gain back the popularity they had during their time as X1, Seungyeon maybe being the only exception. And let's not even talk about how bad the situation is for some of the post-X1 groups that are extremely underrated despite being super talented. This just makes me wish things were different and they would have stayed together like they deserved. Despite really liking IZ*ONE and having been a stan, I wouldn't necessarily want to bring them back from disbandment. The main reason is that they had a relatively peaceful disbandment that happened after a fulfilling and successful career. Their time together was limited, but they were able to really shine as a group, which doesn't make me feel too regretful for their disbandment. There's one more reason I personally not bring them back. And that reason is that I think most of the members are definitely shining more now in their new paths compared to izone. The first member that comes to mind is Hair1. Nobody would have ever thought she had such a pretty voice back in izone, and that was mostly because izone's songs didn't complement her vocal tone. But now that we got to hear her solo music, it just makes me so happy seeing she found her style. The same thing could be said for Wonyoung, who is now singing in a range that complements her pretty vocal color so well. Then there is Chair1, who in my opinion is just shining so much more with Lee Seraphim's concept. She's really thriving and shining brighter than she had ever shined in izone. The last reason I would not bring izone back is because if they had never disbanded, we would have never heard all of the amazing discographies that came out of every post-izone soloist and group. So yeah, even if they were a great lineup, I think they had a beautiful career and they gave us everything they could as a group. Now on to Bugaboo. There are several reasons why I'd bring them back from disbandment. First of all, because their debut song Bugaboo is one of my favorite debuts in K-pop. Second of all, because they were one of my favorite rookie groups and I was really attached to the members. Another reason is because they were insanely talented, especially in terms of dance. But the main reason as to why I'd bring them back straight away is because they were such a young group that stayed together for so little, and I feel like there was just so much they could have done together, but they barely got the chance to show it. Ryan John was the one who put this group together, and he's also one of the most talented producers in K-pop who has worked with many other groups, even groups like Luna and IVE, who definitely have super strong discographies. That really made me look forward to hearing more from Bugaboo in terms of music, and I just cannot accept the fact they disbanded after debuting with one of the best and most catchy debut songs in K-pop. Momoland is another one of those groups I would not bring back from disbandment even if I could, and there are quite a few reasons for that. First of all, MLD Entertainment was never able to capitalize on Momoland going viral for their hit song Boom Boom. They just kept on giving them songs with a pretty similar structure and sound, resulting in people getting bored pretty quickly. Then there was a whole messy situation about members leaving and even exposing the company, as well as the show Finding Momoland, the show that led to the creation of the group. I never really kept up with that whole situation that much, but it was clear that something was going on behind the scenes and it wasn't anything good. Actually, if you know more about that, feel free to let me know in the comments. On top of it all, we have to take into consideration the huge hate the members got from the K-pop stan community, especially members like Nancy and Joy. None of that hate should have ever happened, and it isn't fair that the girls had to go through what they went through. Momoland are really a group that deserve an apology from everyone. But I guess that by now that would be pretty pointless. In conclusion, I cannot be 100% sad that they disbanded, because judging by everything that happened, from mismanagement to hate, maybe it's best for the girls and their mental health to start fresh. Last but not least, gfriend. I wasn't a stan and their music was never really my cup of tea, but I would absolutely bring them back. It's so crazy because they were already one of the biggest third-gen groups when HYBE acquired Source Music, and they only kept getting bigger and bigger as time went by. But then, all of a sudden they disbanded. Their disbandment really frustrated me because it made no sense. It's not like they weren't doing well, and I don't get how you disband a group that keeps on gaining popularity with each comeback. If I'm not mistaken, the members said they were not aware of the disbandment and they first heard the news online before the company even told them. It's clear the girls were not expecting it, and this makes it even worse. I just struggle to understand why this disbandment even happened. They still had a lot of potential, and it's clear they wanted to continue making music together. I hope the girls will be able to move on and thrive in their new careers. But even then, I can't help but being very sad because of how this situation played out. Okay guys, that's all. I could have included more groups, but I didn't want to make the video too long. Anyway, I'm sure you must have some disbanded group that you would also want to bring back from disbandment, and other groups whose disbandment you're okay with. So tell me in the comments if you'd like. Remember that this was just my opinion and you don't have to agree with me. With that being said, thanks for sticking till the end and see you in the next video.